Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to get into a really powerful idea from psychology. The key to understanding ourselves and each other isn't about finding one single correct answer. It's actually about learning how to see our own minds from a bunch of different angles. So, let's dive in. First things first, let's talk about why we get stuck. I mean, we all do, right? There's this super common trap we fall into when we're trying to figure ourselves out, and it almost always comes down to having just one way of looking at things. I mean, this is the big question, isn't it? It's what's been driving psychology for centuries. Why do we do the things we do? Are we just born this way? Or does our life, our experiences, shape us into who we are? You've heard it before. It's that classic nature versus nurture debate. And it's the perfect place for us to start. Okay, so check this out. This slide breaks down two totally different ways we handle new information. On one side, you've got the memory approach. Think of it like a sorting machine. You hear a new idea, and you just ask, does this fit with what I already believe? Yes or no? It's fast, but it completely shuts down any real learning. But then there's the application approach. This is where you ask, how does this idea work? How could I use it? That is the path to real growth. And you know what happens when you only stick to that memory approach? You end up here, with something called cognitive inflexibility. It's basically when our beliefs become a cage. We get so locked into our way of seeing the world that we just automatically reject anything new that doesn't fit. It's the ultimate roadblock to understanding. So if that's the trap, how in the world do we get out of it? Well, this is where a really cool framework called modern applied psychology comes in, and it gives us a completely different way to look at the whole problem. The central idea behind modern applied psychology, or MAP for short, is actually super simple. It's not about picking one theory and saying, this is the one. Nope. It's about seeing all those different schools of thought, psychoanalysis, behaviorism, all of them, not as enemies fighting for the crown, but as different lenses in a toolkit, each one giving us a unique view of what it means to be human. And this slide just nails it with an amazing metaphor. Picture the human experience as this huge, sprawling mountain. Now, each school of psychology is like a different hiker. They're all looking at the exact same mountain, but they're standing on totally different sides. One sees the snowy cap, another sees the dense forest on the west face, and a third sees the sheer rock cliffs on the east. Same mountain, completely different views. So here's the kicker. No single hiker has the whole picture. Not one. If you really want to understand the entire mountain, if you really want to understand yourself, you've got to be willing to walk around it. You have to be open to seeing it from where all the other hikers are standing. All right, you ready? Let's take a quick tour around this mountain and meet a few of these hikers. We'll check out their view and see what kind of lens we can add to our toolkit. First up, the behaviorists. These folks are the ultimate show-me-the-data crowd. They only care about what they can actually see and measure. For them, our actions are just learned responses to our environment, like Pavlov's dogs. But the really powerful idea here is, hey, if a behavior was learned, that means it can be unlearned too. Then we go a little deeper with the psychoanalytical school. Think Freud. This perspective says, hold on, the real action is happening beneath the surface. It suggests that we're driven by all these unconscious forces, hidden desires, old memories, things we're not even aware of. And to really get ourselves, we have to bring that stuff into the light. Now, the cognitive school is all about our internal software. It argues that it's not what happens to us that matters most, it's how our mind interprets what happens. As you can see here, the quality of our thoughts is directly linked to the quality of our emotions. Change your thinking, and you can change your feelings. Now, not everyone loved those more deterministic views. So along came the humanistic school, which basically put its foot down and said, hey, what about free will? This perspective believes we have this incredible innate drive to grow and become our best possible selves, a process they call self-actualization. It puts you back in the driver's seat. And finally, let's zoom way out with the sociocultural perspective. This view looks at the big picture, our culture, our family, our society, and how those massive forces shape us as individuals. It's a powerful reminder that none of us exist in a vacuum. And look at this. This is so cool. It brings everything together. You can actually map all these different perspectives onto that classic nature versus nurture spectrum. Over on one end, you have theories focused on what we're born with, our biology. On the other end, you've got theories that emphasize our environment and what we learn. The big takeaway? The whole story lies somewhere along the entire spectrum. Okay, so seeing them all laid out like that, it's pretty clear that each one has a piece of the puzzle. But that leads to the million-dollar question. Now that we have this awesome toolkit full of different lenses, how do we actually use it? How do we go from just collecting perspectives to using them to see our lives more clearly? This is so important. The real magic, the real power, comes when we stop trying to pick a favorite team. It's not about being a behaviorist or a humanist. It's about integration, about blending the insights from all these different views to get a richer, fuller, and way more useful picture of why we are the way we are. And a fantastic model for how to do this is the journey to what's called the wise mind. It's a path through 3 states. A lot of us start out in the emotional mind, right? Where we're just reacting based on our feelings. Then we might develop our rational mind, which is all about logic and analysis. But the ultimate goal is to bring those two together into the wise mind. The wise mind, this is the goal. It's that sweet spot right between pure emotion and cold logic. It's reflective, not just reactive. It's curious. It's all about growth. This is the state of mind where you can calmly reach into your toolkit, pull out the right perspective for the right situation, and really apply it. So let's bring this all home. We've talked about perspectives, toolkits, and this wise mind. But so what? Why does any of this actually matter in our real everyday lives? You know, we often think we need some incredibly complicated, genius-level theory to solve our problems. But this quote just nails it. The biggest, most massive shifts in our lives rarely come from complex ideas. They come from simple ones. And that, right there, is the whole point. The goal isn't to turn you into a walking textbook of psychology. It's to take all these profound, sometimes complicated theories and boil them down into simple, practical, actionable tools that you can actually use to manage yourself better and build stronger relationships. So, as we wrap up, just remember that this journey of understanding ourselves, well, it never really ends. That mountain is always there, and there's always a new trail to find. So, the only question left for you is, what new perspective will you explore?